the table.
Exactly.
Correct. That was. Might still be that.
Sure.
It comes to the table.
So long as it's in the.
It's not, they like moved it to like clean them. Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Kingston Planning Board meeting. Today is July 21st, 2025. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I am the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. Before we begin the meeting, I just have a few announcements that I'd like to make. First of all, we are recording and we are live streaming, so I want everybody to be aware of that and cognizant of that. If you do have a cell phone, I'm just going to ask that you please silence your cell phone so that it does not interfere with the meeting. If you have conversations that are not being held with the planning board itself, I just ask that you please take them outside of the room. You can use the chambers or you can use the conference room 2 on the opposite side of the chambers. Restrooms are through the chambers on the opposite side of the building, men's to the left, women's to the right. If we do have an emergency, I ask that you please use the stairs and not the elevator. If you need assistance, just ask and we'll help you out there. With that, I am going to turn the meeting over to Chairman Platt to introduce the other board members and open the meeting at 6:02 p.m.
Thank you, Suzanne. Introduction to board members. My name is Wayne. We also have Charles Palaco, Sage Newkirk, Andrew Harris, Barry Grundig. It's like both of you guys are in now too. So you've already met Suzanne Cahill, our planning director. We also have assistant planner Tyler D-Day, and Matthew Jankowski is the assistant corporation counsel for the city of Kingston. So item number 1, we have 2 sets of minutes to adopt, approve the June 16th, 2025, and the July 9th, 2025, the special planning board meeting. The minutes for those, everybody's had an opportunity to look at them. Any corrections, additions, deletions? All right, at this time, I'll make a motion that we adopt both of those minutes. Do I have a second? Second by Charles Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. And at this time, I'd also like to recognize Alderwoman Sarah Paskey. She's here now. She's the Common Council liaison to the planning board. Okay. We're in public hearings now. Item number 2 is 51 and 55 O'Neill Street, the lot line revision of the lands of Bankert Realty Incorporated. Section block and lot 56.25-2-19 and 18.110. Transect zone T5 at Ward 4. Secret determination. Bankert Realty Incorporated is the applicant owner. Anybody besides the applicant owner wishing to speak on item number 2? Okay, let the record show that Mike Thierry is here representing Bankert Realty. Hello, sir.
Good evening, everybody. So this is somewhat straightforward. I guess we can call it. What we're planning on doing here is adding the portion of the asphalt parking lot, which is currently included with the 2-story frame house. So we have 2 lots here, and the lot which is going to lose the acreage is the home lot here. We are transferring 0.039 from this parcel to the adjoining parcel here, which is currently 0.57 acre, which is actually lot number 2 on filed map 03-1707. The revised area is now 0.496. Since this submittal, as of today, we went out and located the utilities, which are shown on this plot here. There's no easements required. There was also a question in the review notes about how much open area was here for, I don't know exactly, this was a different term this time around. It wasn't actually, it was not like open space, but what was the actual term?
Yeah, I remember private.
Yes, that's what it was. Yes. So the private space. I didn't actually calculate it only because it's more than 50% of the lot. And I think it's 300 square feet, correct?
So that's just there's no driveway or anything.
No, there's really not, there's nothing here. There's just, this is all open space here.
Okay. Okay, so it's just not, it's not the driveway for the residential use now. That was the question.
Yeah, I mean, this is all open here, so whether they want to occupy it, if they did, I mean, is that, even if they put a driveway back to here, I mean, we still have way more than 300 square feet there. There's plenty of open space here. It's more, at this point in time, it's more than 50%. There is some like, there was a piece of bluestone back here, which it was in the shape of what looked like a manhole. I shoveled it out today. It was probably something that was once around the manhole and they just took it and put it there. There is no manhole in the yard. But I actually went out of my way to make sure that it wasn't a manhole today, dug around a little bit. My father and I were out here today and we took a look at all the utilities that were marked out and so on. So, this is pretty much straightforward. Facilities for this building coming in over here, and then the overhead tower. So technically, all we're doing here is taking this area here, which is 34 by 50, and taking from 56.52 to 19 and adding it to 56.25 to 18.11.
Any questions from the board? Everybody good? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, so under,
This is us. So I'm ready.
okay, under seeker, this is a type 2. So no further review of the board is required at this time. At this time, we'll make a motion that we approve item number 2 with the conditions that Sue's gonna highlight.
Okay, so we got it. Okay, so really it's just a final signature on policy 6 and submit the revised maps as we discussed this evening, 5 paper, 1 Mylar, his signature by the owner for the chairman to sign, and then the Ulster County Clerk.
Quick question, do you want the policy 6 and the board approval block, or do you want both of them?
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes we get signatures here and then this is blank and the county asks why that's blank. That's happened to me more or less, maybe once in the last 6 months. So will the board?
There's an owner's signature block.
Yeah,
And then there's a chairman's signature block.
Okay.
And then they should sign both. They should,
Okay.
they should sign both.
all right, that's fine. So I just didn't know that for final maps, if I should be removing it. No, we can have a revised policy.
All right, so that is a motion. Do I have a second on that? Second by Andrew Harris. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. We're gonna do one more item before we get to you for Hooker Street, all right?
Okay, no problem.
It's gonna be tabled anyway, so. Item number 3 is 15 Apple Street subdivision of the lands of IFMH LLC. Section block and lot is 48.312-2-10. Transect zone T3N is in Ward 1. Seeker determination. Michael Viteri is the applicant. IFMH LLC is the owner. Do we need to ask if anybody's wanted to speak on that, or we just can?
No, I would just, you're going to table it.
Yeah.
The applicant has requested this item to be tabled because they're going to reconfigure the subdivision itself. The layout will be changing. So it'll continue to be a public hearing next month with the new proposal in here.
Mike is working on that for them too, so he's gonna do that. So this time we'll make a motion that we table item number 3. Second on that. Kyra with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right. Item number 4 is 19 Hooker Street, subdivision of the lands of RV Group 4 LLC. Section block and lot is 48.83-3-14. Transect zone T3L, Ward 7, seeker determination. Michael Viteri is the applicant, RV Group 4 LLC is the owner. Anybody besides the applicant or owner wishing to speak on item number 4? Okay, let the record show that Michael Viteri is here for this item.
Okay, so I'm just taking a quick look here. The only real, so a quick overview. We have parent parcel here, We're proposing 3 lots, lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. The only changes from this particular plan that we submitted is we have now, as per the recommendations of the city, we have created a common drive easement for lots 1 and 2. So there will no longer be 3 separate curb cuts. There will be a common drive easement just for lot 1 and 2 exclusively. Lot 3 will have its own driveway. We have not run this by the DPW yet. That is our only item that we have outstanding. Otherwise, a full utility markup has been done. The utilities are obviously, even though that we don't require an easement for utilities, they're going to be reconfigured anyway, so they're going to have to be capped and approved by the city. And obviously, the existing structure here will come down in order to get a final approval on this. We were looking to present this prior to tearing the house down and making sure everyone was okay with it before we went ahead and sunk the money into taking the house down, capping the current utilities, and we just want to, make sure that everybody's happy with a common drive easement here rather than 2 separate driveways. We'll have 1 common drive easement and a separate driveway for lot 3, and that's basically the changes. We've also, although I don't believe it matters for subdivision approval, we have applied for a jurisdictional determination for wetlands, although there are none shown on our property.
Okay.
I don't know how long those generally take. I know this is new since January. I applied for this as soon as you guys sent me the notes, which has got to be 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything yet, but I also applied for like 3 that day, some in other townships. So I have not gotten a word back from them yet.
Okay.
But that's where we stand with this. And if everyone is okay with the configuration, we can move forward also with discussing the driveway access. Yes, we have the turn here on Hooker. That's why we moved this down to share a common drive easement there. Although I believe the site distance would still suffice for 3 driveways, we're going to try and knock it down to 2 in order to keep everybody happy, and the client was fine with that also.
All right. Questions from the board?
We're okay to make the house currently there.
Yeah, one of the conditions would be that the demolition be completed prior to the chairman's signature on the final plat for filing.
Gotcha, okay.
And also, we have been in contact with the contractor who was literally willing to come in and get a permit to tear the home down as soon as we got some type of word tonight, regarding how we were going to move forward.
All right, so under seeker, this is an unlisted action. I have before me a short environmental assessment form that staff has indicated is in order. This time I'll make a motion that we approve it. Do I have a second? Second by Sage Newkirk. Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco.
Yes.
Sage Newkirk.
Yes.
Andrew Harris.
Yes.
Karen Grundy.
Yes.
That is passed.
Thank you. So one quick question, Sue, who should I contact right off the bat to get, just to run these driveways, like the permits? Somebody?
Probably Ryan.
Okay.
Or Ed Norman, either of them.
Okay, so is there a way that one of you guys could send me their emails and I can at least create some kind of contact with them tomorrow? That's good. Thank you, everybody.
I saw
Okay.
it preliminarily.
They have seen it. Okay, all right. And I'm sure, we've made it better since the original, since our original application by adding this, which is now going to require also a maintenance agreement for use of, for the maintaining of common driveways.
We just did seeker, so we're gonna do the application right now. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 4. Sue's got some.
With board policy 6, with the resultant parcel descriptions, including the easement language within the 2 parcels that would cover. Demolition of the existing structure must be completed prior to the chairman's signature on the final plat before filing. We'll need 1 Mylar and 5 paper copies with the owner's signature. Condition of the New York State DEC wetland jurisdictional letter being received. submitting the revised maps showing that shared common easement driveway, and DPW's approval on the curb cuts.
Okay.
But that's a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Sage Dukert. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
So thank you, and if you can just give me those notes eventually,
Oh, yeah.
we'll make sure Joyce is aware of that also, because whether she's not calling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Have a wonderful one.
Yep.
We'll get Scott. Excuse me. See you. Very good. Old business. I'm sorry, new business. Item number 5 is 80 Washington Avenue, site plan and major waiver amendment. Add 2 additional residential units and to exceed the number of rooms in a multiplex. Section block lot is 56.107-4-12, seeker determination, transect zone T4 and Ward 3, Place 96 South Elliott LLC is the applicant owner. Record show that Scott Dutton is here representing the applicant owner. Welcome, sir. Thank you. Zero. Here.
Yeah, you want like floor plans up? Like,
Give a little warm up. This, the additional 2 units came out of the SHPO process where they asked us to maintain the original lobby and reconfigure things a little bit. And going for financing and looking at all of that, things that it's cleaned out now. So in that shuffle, we found a space that's in the basement, but it's not really basement. It's on the George Washington School side.
He has it up behind me.
Large windows. Here. And lots of natural light. So here's another potential studio. So there would be no changes to the exterior. The board granted the approval. There's 1 additional unit in the half level down, actually. No Lakeman.
Hello there. Welcome.
And have some. This there's a half flight of stairs here that brings you right up to one of the main circulation corridors. Did receive staff notes, and there was a question asked: would this be for the building super? Quite possibly. If not, a number of these units we're expecting to be occupied by employees of the hospitality group from Kinsey Hotel, the restaurant. As everyone knows, I'm sure, it's very hard to find employees in the hospitality space because it's hard for them to find housing. So this trend of employers providing an opportunity to have housing is, I'm seeing it across the region. We do a lot of work at Mohawk Mountain House, Enos Mountain House. If you want to attract quality employees, you need to give them having the opportunity, not necessarily forcing them to take that apartment. It's likely that unit will go that way.
Okay. This alteration affect any storage space at all for you? Because didn't you have another area set aside for electric bikes and what have you? Was that another part of the building?
In another part of the building, there's ample storage.
Okay.
Down there. And again, it's half a flight down on the GW side. It's like 3/4 of a flight down on the north side of the.
Right to the back of that side.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, here's an outside electric bike storage and charging area. But nothing else in the basement is changing. All of the layout is basically the same, uses are all the same. The other unit that is being added is on the first level. Kyle's pulling it up here. It's basically above the area where we just pointed out, and it was a one-bedroom, correct? And it's being converted to 2 studios. So that's the other additional studio unit that's being added. And that's effectively it. I think everything else is staying virtually the same, outside and inside in terms of the layout. Those are the changes. Pretty subtle.
Yeah, I don't see it as a problem if it doesn't impact like safety and it doesn't change the structure. But having the diversity of the type of living spaces, studios, and I think that that's a positive thing, especially for the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we can, we'll jump to the,
Just a couple of quick questions, just to confirm, because obviously we're still committing to the 15%.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, affordable and 5% workforce.
Yep.
That was in the original, so, the only change there would be 6 affordable now and 2 workforce with the additional units.
Okay.
So that, and a lot of this is in the drafted resolution, which is also in your packets, that you can see. And then you want to just talk about the waiver?
yeah, I was gonna jump to that. So the last time you were here, we granted the waiver for this. So we talked today about it, Sue and I, and basically falls into the same spirit as the previous waiver that was granted. We still have to reconsider the record. That's, of course, why we're, if everybody on the board is in concurrence with that. So, do we have to go one item by item here? Can we just say?
They are in the resolution.
Okay.
They were, the findings were in the staff notes, which about a week ago, so I'm assuming everybody reviewed everything. I don't know if you have any questions. Another thing to note is that, with the 2 additional units, that adds the rec fee.
Sure. Yeah.
That would be going up. And you just want to speak to the listing, the historic.
Sure. We have New York State approval, we have National Park Service approval, and for everyone's edification, when you get those approvals, you get a written letter that says you're approved, but it's all pending a formal process that they 4 weeks later, and then it gets published, sort of like
Okay.
your world here. That's all done. So our plans have been buildings listed. Good.
Congratulations. Good job.
That's great.
Yeah.
I
A
guess-
beautiful building, I mean, that absolutely falls within that criteria, so I think, so it's good.
What is timeframe?
Financing, then we're ready. Permit plans are done, so.
So it's 2 to 3 months to start.
Okay. And right now, you just have a demo permit that's going on?
Correct.
All right, so any other, that's it, right? Just go right to the resolution. Anybody have any other questions on the board?
No.
Okay. But for such a small amendment, they gotta be. That's why I brought water with me today, too. So, okay, so, resolution of the City of Kingston Planning Board amending the conditional approval of the site plan and major waiver to increase units from 37 to 39 for 80 Washington Avenue, Kingston, New York, 12401, section block and lot 56.107-4-12. Whereas Place 96 South Elliott LLC, the applicant, received an approval for a major site plan and major waiver for renovation / adaptive reuse of existing building and construction of a partial second story in the rear to create 37 apartments with associated site improvements and tenant spaces on October 16th, 2023. And whereas the building, classified as a multiplex building type, is located in the T4N transect zone with an allowed intensity of 12 units maximum per building. And whereas the original planning board resolution on October 16, 2023, included a number of conditions and findings granting a waiver from section 405-12 J3, which is multiplex allowed intensity for 37 residential units. And whereas since the original approval, the owner has successfully had the building placed on the state and National Register of Historic Places and has begun necessary demo and clean out to prepare for construction. And whereas in working with the State Office of Historic Preservation to preserve additional interior architectural features and reviewing the approved interior plans, the applicants are seeking amendment to the approved site plan and major waiver to add 2 additional units. And whereas the applicant, under the original approval, agreed to incorporate 15% affordable housing, which is 6 units, and 5% workforce housing, which is 2 units. And whereas the board rendered the action an unlisted action under seeker and previously issued a negative declaration of environmental significance and reaffirmed that determination on July 21st, 2025. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Kingston Planning Board as follows. Section 1, Planning Board deems the application to be complete, and after full consideration of the materials submitted for the project, hereby approves the site plan for 39 residential units and associated site improvements at 80 Washington Avenue with the following conditions. A, the applicant shall address the remediation of lead paint by engaging a certified contractor and following best management practices as established by the industry for all work and disposal of the contaminated materials. B, the applicant shall provide a facility ADA compliant for accessibility in accordance with the requirements of the building code of the state of New York. C, the existing shed is to be painted and treated to match the existing building. D, the board continues to recognize and accept the usable open space plan as provided, defined by the applicant under the original review. E, board policies 3, 3A, and 3B, 4 and 4A, 6, 8 and 8A, 7 also, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16A and 16B, 17 and 17A, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Section 2, the applicant shall incorporate throughout the project affordable/workforce housing in accordance with section 405.19 of the FBC as follows. A total of 8 units will be established as income restricted. 15% of this will be affordable housing units with households earning no more than 80% of area median income as determined by U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, specifically 6 units. And what are we going to put in there?
And previously, we had identified the number, the 6, as having a number of studios and 1 bedrooms. We did the same with the, the workforce, which would be 2 units. I don't know if you have an idea, if that's just to make sure that, there are some 1 bedrooms and studios.
Of course, that there's diversity there.
Right, right.
We haven't had those conversations, but we can commit that there will be diversity. It's not like only studios will be affordable.
Right, that's the idea.
Should be a mix of
Yeah,
types represented.
So if we, for example, the workforce, you have to have 2 units. So if we said 1 of each,
sure.
that would be okay.
So that'll be one studio and one bedroom.
Right, for the workforce. And then with the 6 units, I don't know if you want to break it up 3 and 3, 4 and 2.
Could we make it a minimum of the ones so that they have some flexibility, and availability?
Yeah, I mean,
Six. Minimum of 2 1-bedrooms.
Or,
of the six that are,
Of the 6.
okay,
Yeah,
all right, so 4.
just to give them a little bit of flexibility.
Okay,
in
yeah.
terms of renting.
All right.
yeah, that makes sense.
If it changes, can they change it at staff level?
What?
If it changes, can they come in and change it staff level in the office?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is just that you don't want them one type, you're in diversity, you know, of affordability and workforce housing at the same time, so that it's structured.
So are we saying 4 and 2, or are we saying minimum?
We're saying
1 bedrooms of 2.
minimum of 2
Okay.
1-bedrooms.
Okay.
Good.
All right, and 5% workforce housing units with households earning no more than 120% of area median income as determined by U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, specifically 2 units. So we're going to do 1 and 1 on that.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 studio and 1 bed. B, the establishment of the affordable/workforce housing will be subject to a contract and restrictive covenants being executed and entered into as determined by the Corporation Council to meet the guidelines of the city. Section 3, the planning board grants the major waiver request from section 405-12J3, which is the multiplex allowed intensity for 39 units based on the following findings. The applicant has submitted a density analysis for the property, which identified the property would allow the 3 multiplex structures to be erected, allowing for a maximum of 36 units in a layout that would require the demolition of the historic structure and be less compatible with the immediate neighborhood. The board recognizes that the structure now has official historic listings, which would be detrimental to the community at large if it were allowed to be demolished. Adaptive reuse is more consistent and appropriate with preservation goals. The code provides for flexibility in consideration of the adaptive reuse of existing buildings that do not conform with the general character in the neighborhood. Prior use of the facility housed 46 residents and 6 to 12 staff at maximum occupancy. The existing proposal is not altering the overall site footprint of the impervious structures. The project is consistent with the planning, design, and compatibility of the surrounding T4N transect. Section 4, the planning board continues to accept the Ulster County Planning Board recommendation of no county impact. Section 5, that the applicant will initiate discussion with staff to obtain local historic landmark designation. Section 6, the applicant shall provide a final set of plans to staff that identify the following. A, location of the mail/parcel cluster unit as acceptable by the United States Postal Service. B, on-site directional and parking signage. C, details and location of bicycle parking accommodations, including provision for electric bike charging. D, details of the dumpster enclosure. E, final finishing details will be submitted to the planning office based on approval by the New York State Office of Historic Preservation. F, sign off by the city engineer on all site stormwater collection and confirmation that all existing components are to be repaired and fully functional. G, include executed signature boxes for the owner. Section 7, the applicant shall provide a performance bond to the city of Kingston in the amount as set by the city engineer with a 10% contingency added. Said bond shall be in a form as approved by the planning staff and corporation council and will be received prior to the issuance of a building permit. Section 8, the planning board hereby assesses a payment in lieu of parkland fee on the project in the amount of $105,000 and said payment shall be remitted prior to the issuance of a building permit. Section 9, approval of the board does not eliminate the need to obtain the appropriate permits and approvals from other boards, commissions, departments, and relevant agencies. Section 10, that this amendment and conditional site plan approval shall be valid for a period of 1 year from the date of the purpose of obtaining a building permit. And applicant may apply to request an extension of one additional year as prescribed under the process in section 405-26E1E. And section 2 here is that this resolution shall take effect immediately. This time we'll make a motion that we adopt this resolution. We have a second. Second by Kyra Grundig. Wade Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco.
Yes.
Sage Newkirk.
Yes.
Andrew Harris.
Yes.
Kyra Grundig.
Yes.
That is passed.
Thank you all.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Noah.
You're all.
Here.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah. PD. All right, under still in new business. 73-75 Furnace Street, site plan to renovate an existing building into 4 residential units and major waiver from first floor transparency. Secret determination. Section block and lot is 56.92-4-42. Transect zone T4N-O, Ward 4. Joseph Herzig is the applicant and Lyndon Peters is the owner. Are you Mr. Herzig?
I'm Mr. Hurley. Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Yes, I've recently been hanging around Houston for my summers, and I really like it over here, and I'd love to, do some
Good.
work over here as well.
Okay.
So 7375 Furnace, some of you might know this building has been abandoned for many years, and trying to turn it into 4 units. 2,000 square feet, 500 square feet per unit, or about 4 bedrooms, once we count for walls and everything. 4 beautiful 1-bedroom units. So
So I'll just go through, what you originally submitted, and if you want me to speed it up or move, just let me know. Good, you good here?
yes. So we did existing structure that we as is. This little easement over here, it's not really relevant because we're keeping this as a driveway. But the neighbor could use it. This is just a diagram. Okay, so I guess this is the first decision that the planning board will have to make. We're trying to keep and there's a very large backyard over here, and in the perfect in the perfect world, we would put in 4 parking spots over here, but it gets a little tight, just like technicalities, and especially because we need a handicap spot. So we want to do 2 spots over here, and there are 2 possible configurations, and I want to show you guys both configurations. One of them takes up this one particularly over here. It has a lot of asphalt in the back. The advantage of this is that we have full 24 feet for a like a lane before the parking. It's a requirement according to the zoning laws. The problem is that we really limit the amount of we really go over the required maximum coverage, which is 70%, and I think it just personally looks a little ugly to have way too much asphalt over here. I want to show you guys the second option. This is a much more compact way of having these parking spots. The compromise is that we only have 22 feet over here instead of 24 feet over here.
So with this option, the 22 feet can be authorized with the city engineers increasing. So that would be one condition. And one thing that we had thought about, I don't know if Kyla had discussed it with you, would be to swap the access aisle for the handicap parking space to be adjacent to where your garbage and bike parking is. So that would give them also more open area accessibility, and then put the other parking space. So just kind of flop that.
Right.
And that seemed to make more sense to me. It also allows for better backing out movement for both of those vehicles to back out and then go out face
Right.
first.
Right. So that's a good point. I think my response was that if there's a spot right over here, then it's gonna be kind of tight to turn into over there. And especially with only 22 feet over here, I wasn't sure exactly, what would end up being the most comfortable way. So I sort of suggested that we wait until it's there and we'll try a couple of cars and then we'll see what the best
Yeah,
option
it's just if you're gonna have bike parking and all of that.
It's gonna get a little stuffy.
That would be access, with a 5 foot, wide space. If you're using that for garbage and bike parking, everything's gonna,
We could do that.
get awful congested.
We could do that. We could do that. Perfect. Yeah,
So what material are the parking spaces gonna be?
right now it's all asphalt.
Okay,
It's all there already, so I don't plan on making any major changes unless I have to.
okay, and then on the driveway coming in, what's that?
Asphalt.
Asphalt?
Everything's asphalt.
It's currently asphalt right now?
Currently asphalt. The whole asphalt. In fact, I'm gonna have to grind up some of the asphalt. I wanna make
Okay.
grass anywhere over here, which I probably will. Apparently I have to. And yeah. So that's that, and I guess.
So do you want to talk about what options the board likes better out of these two and then move on, or?
So does this configuration put him in the required coverage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Joe, here is the original. Do you want me to show this and then we'll show the other one?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is where I requested a waiver. Basically, the existing facade of the building looks like this, minus this door. I mean, we have a picture of it. It will make things a lot easier. So this is the existing facade of the building. The upper floor I'm keeping exactly the same. This door I'm keeping over here. This door I'm keeping over here. But I'm adding a second door over here. My rationale was if I have two. I mean, these apartments are like ground floor apartments with no stairs going up. I figured might as well make it a little more accessible if I have a door outside instead of making a door from inside the hallway to narrow hallway. So I wanted to put this third door in front. The problem is that like changes the facade a little bit, and being that this facade is not conform to the transparency requirements, I would have to I would have to get a waiver from you if I want to keep it as is with the configuration we're trying to do right now. Maybe go back to that picture later so you see it.
Is the transparency requirement just for the street side?
Yes.
This is facing, yes.
So the transparency requirement is 30% for the bottom floor, 20% for the top floor. The top floor we hope to keep as is. The bottom floor, obviously, since we're making changes, I would have to get a waiver if I want to. If you want to keep it as is, it's quite difficult to make that much more windows at the bottom floor because if you look at the interior layout, there's a closet over here, and it's like there isn't that much more space for window.
That's bathroom locations
It's not
there?
bathroom location, but it's facing the street, so I don't want to make it all the way up to the bottom. Oh, this is closet. Yeah, this is the kitchen.
Oh, kitchens, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and the alternative is to keep the existing layout and keep everything as is and just make the entrance to this unit this has like a little like a little hallway with a staircase. I can make the entrance to this unit from inside over here, not touch the outside.
Can you flip to this?
The other one.
Yeah. Right there. So this is a revised elevation that was submitted today, that just shows basically going back to the two door entries. This is showing the post boxes on each one. So the one to the left would go to the ground floor unit directly in, and that would probably be your ADA adaptable unit.
They both have
And
to
then
be
the
adaptable.
other would go in and then into like a small foyer area and go in that way, which I think is.
So with this proposal, does that changes the interior layout?
ever so slightly. It just means that this floor, you have to go into the hallway and then make a left turn into your, yeah.
Just go straight.
Instead of some-
So,
Well,
it was in the
But on the last one,
there
it
was
was
two
kitchens.
kitchen windows.
the layout's the same. That's exactly the same.
So will, and Kyra, you mean?
No. No, it's fine. So with the original, you lose the window.
Yes.
With the three doors, you gain a window,
Right.
but the interior is the same.
Now you have interior, the total window space is the same, and the interior is, I mean, yeah, it's basically the same. You're coming from here. I was gonna put a window into here. If I keep the original, then that would require transparency review, and if that way would be granted to me, then I would just go back to not putting any windows and just keep everything as is.
So does one kitchen lose window then?
No, the kitchens are centrally located right there. You see.
There's a window here, there's a window here, there's a window here.
In the middle of the unit. That's the living room in the front.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So the living room,
So in one configuration, we had a door right over here, and this window got smaller, and we added a window over here. And the window square footage is exactly the same. And this configuration, we're making no changes to the front. I would just have the door over here. I would keep this existing large window. And if you guys would let me, I would add another window over here. But if that would trigger the 30% requirement, then that would be a little more difficult.
Okay, so where the arrow is right now, you're sitting on it.
Yeah.
So that you lose a window there, but the living room gets window on the bottom there.
correct.
Right, so,
Side number two.
yeah, the current, this is basically no changes, just awning above the doors and mailbox.
And
That would be
door,
exactly
yeah,
the way it is
doors.
now. Window is already there, the door is already there. The other one, added the third door, and I think what he's saying right now is he would add another window here if the board would also approve the waiver.
And it's not realistic for those windows to go down
I
to the
think,
ground because it's the kitchen.
yeah, I think the lower, let's ground floor, having some privacy over here, it's not, yeah.
And the closet that prevents this one from having a window on this side, is that closet already there, or is it a closet that has to be built?
The closet's not there, but, I mean, I guess I could technically change things around, but
Like, could the closet go where the other little window would be, and then a window go where the closet is,
you're saying the closet should go
over on the other side,
somewhere like
on
where,
the other side of the door?
oh,
Yes,
Split.
yeah, I mean, there's no
and then
reason,
you could get a window in,
I think that would look better.
you think it would look better to have a window at the end? I
yeah,
know existing photographs of this building show that this whole front area used to be a garage, so it should be quite easy to stick something in over here. There are probably some supports down over here. It will probably be a little more difficult to stick a window into the edges. But I mean, once they open up the wall, I see what's going on over here, and you know, I would love to.
I don't
Get 'em over here.
necessarily have an issue with the new layout. The thing I would like to see is some landscaping, he's talking about creating a dooryard front style building. So there is quite a bit of space in front of this building. As you said, where the door on the left is, used to be a garage door, okay? So in front of this building is one entire curb cut. And so one thing we're looking at is to remove that curb cut to avoid having somebody just pull up and park right in front of the building on the sidewalk there. And if you look at some of the adjacent properties along the street, there is a sidewalk with a tree, with a lawn between the sidewalk and the curb. And then, so if you go down, you see so we'd like to see kind of that pattern extended down to the building, to the side of the building, and then you keep your curb cut where you ingress and egress there. So those were two comments that we did have at staff level. And adding, I think, that to the front and putting some low-level landscaping in the front would really create more of that residential dooryard, which he is trying to achieve.
So,
I think it's a great idea. I would love to add landscaping over here between the two doors.
Right, yeah.
I think it's, yeah,
Yeah, and then the other thing, as I was saying, was to take that curb cut, which starts right, basically the whole front is
Right.
a lowered curb, raise that curb back up and
Okay.
make make the sidewalk just continue down like it does along the entire street there.
we could do that.
Until you get to the commercial building next door,
Yeah.
and obviously you're
I
driving.
mean, my driveway over here, yeah.
does that second illustration of the window and door configuration, does that satisfy the transparency
He's not
requirements?
making any changes. He's basically, the openings are not changing.
Neither one would really
Neither
satisfy,
one.
this is a pre-existing. and the
Yeah.
other one is Slightly more transparent, but neither meets the.
I'm hoping to get it grandfathered, yes, but the fact that it's already pre-existing, there's not enforcement to make any changes. And you have plenty of windows inside and back. It's not like he's lacking any windows there.
Is there one that you prefer?
After thinking about it, I actually prefer to keep things as is.
Can,
And it allows for more grass in the front too.
can you move that one closet around like was, who did Kyrie, did you mention that? Sage? Can you move the closet from the left side to the, and then get some other windows in the front or no, on that?
So as I was saying, if I add a window to the front of this, I would prefer to put it over here rather than over here, only because there used to be a garage over here, so I know I could do it. I don't know what's going on over here.
Okay, so either way, we get more windows in the front. Can you, would they look just like those other two? They would mirror that right
It'd
there?
be smaller. I don't think it's wide enough.
I can put something in there as wide as I can get. I can't promise it'll look exactly the same, but it would be similar enough.
Then just grant the waiver. Okay.
Perfect.
If,
I mean, if we're gonna grant the waiver, you wouldn't want to do the 3 doors?
I mean, I probably would. If you grant me the way, I mean, I think it's better to do 3 doors, but at the customer. I mean, put it in, I would rather private door, but I don't know.
otherwise,
I totally-
it's too cluttered. Yeah, and I'd rather see more green.
Yeah.
If you keep the windows higher, you have a real nice opportunity to add things in the streetscape there.
I agree with that.
It can go either way. It can go either way.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I first submitted it, I had a technical reason why I thought it would have been difficult to get a 3rd door inside it. And after revisiting it, it became more obvious that I could do it. So at this point, I don't mind just leaving it like this. I'll try to get it in the window over here if I could, and I'll do grass as much grass as I possibly could.
So is that going to satisfy staff and with working with,
Yeah, we'll work with them on that. Yep.
so everybody's okay with granting the waiver then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, you liked that layout number. The park.
Yeah.
Great to see. We want to closer in, as Sue,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
as Sue mentioned, swapping the handicap
Yes,
to the left there, right?
Yeah.
and obviously pending approval from engineering. If engineering wouldn't let me do that 22 feet, then you guys will let me do it the original way.
Okay, so the other thing we picked up on was the fencing. Now, is that, and you changed that in the new set of plans, so the fencing doesn't come all the way out to the street like the rendering was showing.
Right, so I think the rendering has an error over there, because it doesn't have that building in there, but obviously there's a building, we're not
Yeah.
gonna cover over the building or anything.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, yeah.
The fence, will not come all the way out to the street. It'll stop at the back of the neighboring structure, and you're gonna still put a gate across a fence gate there, or not?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure it's necessary.
Well, it shows in the,
The rendering doesn't show good.
Just in the original picture, I don't.
Yeah.
It just has his name on it.
okay, so you're removing that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
And you have mini split condensers on there?
so right now this building is covered in mini split condensers from all sides.
Okay.
And
There's a hum coming off the building right now.
You know what?
No, just kidding.
Anyway, but yeah, we're trying to put them all back. I mean, I spoke to some HVAC companies and they go with the ideas.
Fine. And that's code required.
Yeah. Yeah, it's most convenient. I think it's
That's-
just ugly to put it inside.
Okay.
All right.
We're gonna ask for a Knox box in that building too, okay? Knox box, which is put it on the building, and then the fire department has keys for the building
Sure.
that they only can get in, so
And that goes to the front of the building?
they'll put it on front somewhere,
Okay.
yeah.
Definitely do that.
You work with the fire department, right?
Yeah.
They'll help you make a location for it.
100%.
A lot of buildings in Kingston have that.
Okay.
Yeah. That way they're not breaking windows and doors to get in if they have that.
The meth has it allocated.
Okay. We're happy you're doing something with this building. Okay?
That's what I'm hearing.
Because this building has been before us for different things. So, it's good that this looks good.
So this is the last time before you guys. Yeah.
You got anything else? Any other questions from the floor? Okay, that's what I was thinking. All right, so under seeker, this is an unlisted action, so I have before me a short environmental assessment form that staff has indicated is in order. This time I'll make a motion that we approve it. Do I have a second? Second by Andrew Harris. Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco.
Yes.
Sage Newkirk.
Yes.
Andrew Harris.
Yes.
Kyrie Grundy.
Yes.
That is passed.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
One more thing, yeah. One more. We gotta, there has to be a separate vote. All right, this time we'll make a motion that we, approve the waiver, the major waiver request. That the applicant has worked with staff and planning board members to increase the amount of, transparency. And he still is trying to fit within the residential scheme of the neighborhood. I think he's accomplished that
Okay.
based on the size of the building and what he's putting in there. So
So that's a motion.
that's a motion.
Second?
Second by Kyron. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. All right, move on.
One more thing. No, you can't leave this early. Come on.
So I can want me to read off the conditions?
Yeah, do that first.
Okay, so there are board policies 4, 4A, 6, 7, 13, 18, 23, 24. The parking layout that was chosen will be, with the spaces adjacent to the adjoining property. There's 22-foot access aisle, which will require the city engineer's authorization. And they'll swap the handicapped access aisle with the parking space in the rear to allow better accessibility to the refuse and bike storage area. They'll add landscaping along the front of the building and continue the landscaping along the street edge in compliance with adjacent properties, and that will get approval with staff level. They'll raise the curb in front of the building, and then they will add a window on the front of the elevation for the left unit, and that will also get staff review and approval. And the fence on the side of the driveway will stop at the rear of the adjoining commercial building and the elevation. or there's concept. Is it?
Okay, so as Sue just illustrated, I will now make a motion that we approve item number 6. Is there a second on that? Second by Andrew Harris. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried. Get out of there.
Now you know.
Good luck with that.
And you're right.
Good seeing you. Okay. Now we're in old business. Item number 7 is 560 Albany Avenue. Special permit renewal for operation of a light manufacturing welding business. Section block and lot is 48.74-1-5.200. Transect zone T4N-O, Ward 6, secret determination. Schlanger Fabrication LLC is the applicant. 5 Star Realty Holdings LLC is the owner. Okay. This is 2 consecutive months.
Yeah, was, you heard from him or?
No, at the last meeting, we talked about this would normally be administrative, but there were a couple of conditions that we didn't meet. So we've been talking to him about meeting those conditions and having him just send photos. And we did hear he wasn't available for this meeting. We thought in the meantime, he would send us the photos. Yes.
So the 2 items were, I mean, he was required to have a dumpster enclosure, but he doesn't require, he's
Right.
not, he says he doesn't.
He has said that he doesn't need a dumpster, so doesn't feel like he should, be required to put in a dumpster. He doesn't use one, and there's no evidence that, there's outside storage trash. Keeps everything internal and then gets rid of it as he needs to, on his own. So on that one, I would say that's fine with me as long as there is, so the new condition would be that there will be no exterior storage of any refuse or recyclables on site. That would be a new condition.
Yeah.
The other condition was for him to put some small planter boxes or something along the front of the building. And I don't know how the board feels about that.
Well, I mean, historically, with plantings and the design of it and whatever species he uses, we kind of let that at staff level too, right? I mean, with that, or is that?
Right, but this board required it.
Right.
As part of the original special permit, and they were never,
So I guess the question is, do
do
we,
you want to continue to require it? I mean, I'm inclined to say, yes, they should. You should, but, it's not a difficult thing to put a couple of planter boxes out front and.
so I was gonna say, I think we should still require it. But, he's not showed up, says he couldn't make this meeting.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, originally it was supposed to be administrative, so he wasn't going to have.
So to tie that in with having that, whatever that taken care of at staff level to satisfy the plantings requirement. And if he doesn't follow through with it, I don't know,
Right, I
if
suppose
you
you
deem
could
whatever
find,
appropriate time is to bring it back in to take it up at, official level, board level. I mean, that's what I was getting at. Does that seem
Yeah.
reasonable? Okay, do we want to set a time frame for that now, or do
I
you
would
leave it up to
say
staff and say, hey, he hasn't done anything in a couple months and
September.
he wouldn't come till September, like you just said, he wouldn't be coming till September anyway, so.
60 days.
All right, so 60 days, we sound good to me, we'll bring him, okay. Chuck, good with that?
Seems to the.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so, at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 7. So we're eliminating the requirement for the dumpster enclosure.
But you're mandating that there then be no outside refuse, recycles, or material storage on site.
Yes. And as far as the plantings go and the urns that they go in and whatever the boxes, we're gonna leave that on staff level and give them a period of 60 days to comply with that. And if that does not occur, he will come back to this board to answer that.
Yeah.
And all other original conditions carried forward.
So you want to give a term for your renewal?
60 days, is it?
Well,
Or do we?
if he complies, then I would say
Okay.
come back in 60 days.
Um,
If he does. and-
What was the last term? Was it
It was a year.
Year? What do you think?
I mean, I
We
would
give 6 months, it's in, we're in the middle of, snow. So
I would say another year, but not more than that, given what this year has gone.
Yeah, if he's compliant, I don't see why you
And
would
again,
go longer than a year.
if he hasn't complied within 60 days, he's gonna come back.
He's looking at-
Exactly.
So, okay, so everybody's good with the year then?
Yeah.
Okay. And all original conditions carried. So that is a motion. Got a second? Second by Kyron.
Just recognize this type 2 first, please.
Oh, under seeker,
Yeah.
yes, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. Okay, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Okay.
Bond reduction, item number 8.
Chris is here.
Okay, how are you?
Good evening, I'm Chris Mallard.
Okay, and this is, yeah, sorry, let me just read this into record too. All right, so 2 South Prospect Street is a request for bond reduction in the amount of 50% for site work completed. Section of lot is 56.33-2-20.100, Transect Zone T5F, Ward 5, secret determination, 2 Prospect KC LLC is the owner. Chris Mailer's here to represent. All right. So staff has discussed this with our city engineer, right, John
Yes,
Schultz?
he's fine with the original bond amount was 2,251,918, so 50% would put you down to 1,125,959. I'm sure most of you have been by this site. There's not only a lot of work that's going on inside the building, also external on the site, but also on public, in the public right of way that was immediately adjacent to that. There's a lot of additional drainage work and new parking configuration, curbing and other things. They've also been working with the tree commission, adding new trees around the site, moving some trees. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. And they also have a minor site plan review that we're wrapping up shortly for some minor site plan modifications with the parking along South Prospect Street, removing a lot of that on-street street parking right off of the street, so that you're not going to have vehicles backing out into the street any longer. They'll be using the parking lot that's on the site and the new parking that's being created in the new configuration along the adjacent street on Greenkill Avenue. It's right away there. And I think that's it. What is the target date? Like, is there a target date for completion?
Right now, it's a substantial completion for the fabrication center portion of the building in January. And then with the rest of the core and shell piece by May. That's where they would hopefully be able to admit public to the fabrication center and maybe the community space. The 10 spaces around that main community center space, if they're going to come online, one at a time as they find tenants and as they start to work through that process. So, and I would say the bulk of the site work we expect to be done in the fall, by the fall.
Did you meet with some challenges along the way, some snags or anything?
No.
Everything's running smooth? Is that the company line right now?
It's been a great process so far. A lot of moving parts. So, trying to work with getting MOU through for the Greenkill Avenue paper streets piece, and just having that improvement done and just what how that works with that whole front end along Greenville and
Right.
adjacent Apartment Avenue, Apartment Park is great, right? Really, you start to see how that whole plot will start to come together.
Yeah, good,
Yeah, so.
right, good. Any questions? All right, so, we don't need to do seeker on that, right? This is, yeah, but do we need to identify that before we do the bond reduction? All right, so under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve the bond reduction from $2,251,918 to $1,125,959 based on referrals to John Saltese, our city engineer, and also Board Council and Planning Office, Planning Staff. Second on that? Second by Kyra. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Excellent.
Good seeing you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thanks, Chris.
And that's the stormwater.
Thank you.
Okay, here we are. Discussion on item number 9, 21 Elizabeth Street. Discussion to review preliminary concept plans for redevelopment of the former Elizabeth Manor for multifamily use. Section block and lot is 56.124-1-12. Seeker determination, transect zone T4N. Ward 3, Ulster County is the owner. And we have a
Big team.
big team.
Yeah. Where would you like us?
Stay away.
Yeah, wherever.
Okay.
Yeah. What you bet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kyle is gonna get that going. Do you just want to introduce yourself?
Yes.
While Kyle is getting it up on the screen? Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Employed by the applicant.
Good.
All right. Great.
Me too.
Good night, Andrew.
My name is Tyler Farmer. I'm a senior planner working on housing in the Ulster County Planning Department. I am accompanied by Dennis Doyle, the planning director for Ulster County, and then development team. If you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Rob with Maeda Construction. We're a local contractor, staff member.
It's very important. He's the builder.
Yes.
Development lead on the project.
But I've lived here in Ulster County for 15 years before I moved across the river, and I'm familiar with the area. And we do a lot of work here, so.
Including the land.
Yeah, land bank work and park tower work, work, so.
My name is Jason McCormick. I am part of the design and development team. I'm also a researcher at the College of New York.
And he knows everything about land, property, housing, financing. He's wonderful.
Jesse's the glue that any other champion.
My academic field is concentrates a lot on land banks, but like land policy.
But you take the head chair.
We got two like one.
And I'm half of Gans Garrison. I'm my name is Deborah Gans. And we are the architects of the design team, meaning that we're Jesse's an architect too, but we're kind of doing the production.
Your Garrison is part of this.
Yeah.
So we have a short presentation. We really encourage you to ask questions. The design team is, quite frankly, in my opinion, incredible. The other thing I just wanted to say, and there's a little bit in this work that we've done, how we got here. The county of Ulster acquired this building using ARPA funds, if everybody knows what that is, or they are. And we were originally going to use it for boarding house type of facilities with supportive services. The city actually gave us a grant using their ARPA funds for $500,000 of ARPA to help with the renovation costs. The county spent some considerable amount of dollars with respect to acquiring the property, and then we're looking at additional dollars in terms of our renovation costs. The further we got into the building and the more we understood what we had to do associated with the building, the less support we had from the legislature to continue. And in point of fact, the legislature several years ago voted that they would not spend any additional money or do the rehabilitation work on the building. And so with that, the county decided that what we wanted to try to do is keep itself consistent with the original purpose and issued a request for proposals to continue to see if there was another operator that would be willing to come in on the private or nonprofit sector to come in and operate the building as the county had originally intended it to be done. The response to that RFP was zero. No one essentially said that they wanted to continue to come in, which left the county with trying to find a solution that would continue to meet the basic intent of what we're trying to do, while at the same time recognizing the fact that we had to rethink what we were going to actually provide for on that. County issued an RFP relative to that, recognizing, number one, that we thought that the building probably made more sense if it was torn down, if it was demolished. In order to support that, we actually reached out to both the city and the State Historic Preservation Office to make sure we weren't going to run afoul of any of the issues associated with tearing a building of this nature down. And we were informed by both the city that it wasn't a landmark building, and also by the State Historic Preservation Office that demolishing the building would have no significant effect. So with that, we put that out as an RFP, and we had responses to that, and we went through a selection process, and this was the design team that was selected. But it's pretty important for me, anyway, I think, that the planning board understand that when we did this, there was an intent to make sure that, one, that we were contextual with respect to the neighborhood, two, that we were true to what the county really wanted here, which was a highly affordable facility that essentially could help meet the housing needs of the county, and three, that we were committed to essentially making sure that we could do this with the least possible impact on the adjoining properties as well. And so that's where we stand today. We've taken, I think, some great pains in looking at this design team, great pains to look at. You're going to see a fairly unique ownership structure. We've taken some great pains to make sure that we could address the questions that go beyond design, that go into affordability, that go into the legal aspects of what we're proposing, that go into that. So what I would say to you is that tonight you're going to see a really great presentation with respect to design, but behind that is a lot of data and a lot of thought in terms of how this works from a legal perspective and how it works from an affordability perspective overall. So with that, I'm going to stop and we can get into the presentation. And if I stole anything in the presentation, I apologize to the team.
No, not at all. And I'm gonna just do a couple slides here to present kind of the background summary of where we're at, but then pass it over to the design team to walk you through the actual design. But as Dennis mentioned, our intent here tonight is to get feedback and comments from the planning board with the trajectory to potentially submit a formal application in September. And so before we do that, we want as much feedback so to get to the final design as possible before we submit. So this is the project. Go to the next slide. So just some real basic facts about it. This is going to be a home ownership project. It's a limited equity co-op. Is everyone familiar with that model in general? Okay, great. 15 units, 30 bedrooms in total, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. We had an RFP, and the intent for the project is serving households at 60% AMI, which is about where the average income for City of Kingston residents are. So we wanted to make sure that was part of the project. And then as part of this proposal, we've got some innovative approaches using modular construction for for the development, and then a near passive house standard. That's a breakdown of the units by floor. Go to the next slide. It's in the T4N transect, and part of the approval application process will be requesting, I think, 2 waivers now. From my understanding, that first floor height of 12 minimum to 10-foot minimums, in fact,
It's coming.
it's coming down the line.
Yeah.
Okay, so we may or may not need a waiver for that as well, but what we do need waivers for are moving from a maximum of 12 units for the building itself to 15 units. And the architecture team and the design team can explain why we want to take that approach for energy efficiency and other reasons. We also need a waiver in terms of the building depth from 75 feet max to 112 feet right now. The existing building is actually over that 75 foot already, so we're outside of that, but we need that waiver for the extension. And then just the last piece before I hand it over, there's not a ton of room for parking on the site. So we had some concerns about that, and we are in the process of approaching or in discussion with the Kingston City School District for an easement on basically the back of their parking lot that would allow a parking space for our property. And they seem amenable, and we're gonna, formally present that, I believe, in August. Next slide. So this is the development team as everyone introduced themselves. We also have, because this is a home ownership model, we have Recco on board to do that affirmative marketing to make sure that we're capturing the folks that we want to move into those units. And then we also have Community Preservation Corporation for financing, and then UHAV, which is an organization out of New York, which actually helps new co-ops get off the ground and figure out their board structure and all those different pieces. And then I guess the last piece I'll mention too is that there's a general intent, even though it's not required, to move the project in the guidelines for the Kingston policy in terms of selection for homeownership. So we're trying to make sure that the majority of, if possible, the majority of residents who end up owning the units are coming from Kingston. And
That's great.
yeah, I think that is it.
Well, the other one entity that's not mentioned on the development team is the Ulster County Housing Development Corporation is likely to play a role here, similar to what it played a role in terms of the Golden Hill project. The legislature at its last meeting approved the ability for that development corporation to take title to the property if and when we're able to move forward.
Do you have a backup plan in case the school doesn't hit over?
So the short answer I would give you is yes. The longer answer is that it's not the number of spaces that we would prefer, mainly because of we want to try to give one space to each of the owners within the building itself. That's not acceptable and not capable on this particular property. The other thing I would remind is that there are no parking requirements in the city statute. And there is a substantial amount of area in and around this particular facility where we could do on-street parking. Not preferable to us, and I don't think it's preferable to the owners as well. Well, when you see the designs, you get a sense of what would happen with the school district. That it's not a burden on the school district to allow this to happen.
Do I start?
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be part of this project. Really. We're very happy to be part of it. We've been so supportive. It's really great. So you already heard a little bit about that. It's an ownership, an affordable 60% AMI co-op, which is pretty impressive. That's going to replace this building. And these are going to be ownership. Right. Oh, actually, why don't we just then look at the new thing? Okay. Or what might be. So these are ownership.
Right? So it means that people need to desire them, they need to buy it, right? And then they will take care of them and they will call them a home. So they need to be designed as the kind of housing that people aspire to live in. And that's the way we started with the apartments themselves, because ultimately, I know this is about the context and the urbanism, but it's also about, you know, what's it like to live in this house? And so we've designed them according to contemporary standards of amenity and space and performance, including the passive house standards, because those are actually great for the long-term maintenance of place. And it's great, especially for 60% AMI homeowners. It's going to control their utility costs in a large way over time. And that's really important. So like everything, there are many consequences to any move you make in design. So, but then these units really then need to come together into a building that gives them a great sense of identity and that it takes its place as a really good neighbor, right, in the community, on the street, right? And that's obviously the focus of what we want to discuss today. You know, how is it going to be that good neighbor? And actually, the performance-based code has helped us a lot and describing what that means. What we did is our first most important idea is to break the mass that you saw in that boarding house down into two manageable homes. They're kind of the twins, in order to create the sense of home and domesticity. And it's really important. You'll see you'll see at the very end, I guess, in slides where you'll see kind of very similar in massing each part to the houses on the street. But the part of the trick or the cue are the 3 bays, right? Because it's kind of the idea of house is genetically embedded in having a window in the center. And the reason you look at that boarding house and you go, this is a house, you know, it's something else, it's institutional, in part is because it doesn't have that kind of 3-bay structure. So that really underlie the why it performs in other ways. Everything has to do more than one thing, but that's a lot of the reason why the massing is broken this way. And then you notice we pushed one back. And that further identifies them as kind of 2 houses in a certain sense. And also we have some views, you'll see that you can see it does it here. And from as you move around the street, up and down the street around the site, sometimes you really see one at a time. So it's very, very useful in making sure that the context and the scale of the neighborhood is maintained. And then they're kind of wedded back together through the entry porch, the great entry porch for all the units, which is announced through the trellis, right? As you walk in from the sidewalk, that is a kind of pulling that porch out into the front yard. And we know, actually I'll do it right now, we know that Ulster had originally an idea of putting a muse on the site and having houses strung along it, which is a beautiful idea. But you'll see in the site plan, the house, the site is very tight. And all those little houses on it, you couldn't even space them apart. And also financially, it's kind of prohibitive because each one has to be passive. They now have an envelope. Each one has 4 sides. It was very, very difficult. You know, it wouldn't have allowed very much housing. So, but we have a muse because we have that side porch that goes through the entirety of the building and all the units are entered from it. So basically it's a covered muse. right? And you leave from it, you go directly into your apartment, and I'll show you plans in a minute, or you take a staircase, there are only two of them, so it doesn't feel like there's lots of staircases, and you go up the other 2 stories. So, that is the kind of, the color and the siding and the scale of the clapboard is all, kind of taken, from the neighborhood. So I think the next image is oh, we have 2, great. So here you see, I forgot we have this on the front. So you can really see when you're coming from the corner, and it works a little bit the other way too. It's really introduced, and you can see as the first volume, the first twin is introduced as the identity of the project. And then you can see another house down the street a bit that is similar, and we have more images. You can also see here the slope, right? Which is another part that made it a little difficult to get the views, and also has something to do with the parking, the difficulty of parking all over the site, because you can see the slope that goes down all the way to the end. So the next slide. Oh, wow, these are all front. This is fabulous. So I thought they were on my presentation, they were at the end. I didn't realize they were front here. That makes it really easy. So they're twin houses already, right? We're just another set of twins. They're across the street. And then you see the massing, the 3 windows, and you also see the pitch, the kind of very prominent dormer with a little window in it, and that house, which is our neighbor. Et cetera, et cetera.
And these other houses are on.
Yeah, they're right across the street from us. Oh, well, the one is next door. Yeah, right, exactly. The one on the right is the one next door. Right. And I think we have that street at some place in here, which would be nice and close at the end, which would be next, who knows? Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Oh, this is so here. So I don't mind just doing my presentation backwards. What you see here is how that, first of all, the porch is covered, right? So that means you can hang out there. There's a bench there. That's how, if you need to get a taxi, or you're waiting for a friend, or you just want to hang out. The beginning of the porch is quite wide, and it's a kind of true gathering space. And then next to it is the ramp. So the ramp was given we have 4 ADA units on the ground floor that were all directly accessed from the porch. So that is really, part of everyone is melded in that experience. And then, but you know what? It's never just about ADA, because if you have a kid with a stroller, right? Or you have a shopping cart, no matter what your age, right? Or if you're just, a little shaky on your feet, that is gonna be a great use. Of course, I'm sure kids will just run up and down too. And you see it looking all the way down the site, and I bet the next image, is a little close up of that experience. And then you see there's the house next door, right, with the one with the big peak, which is set almost, back just a little bit further, but not much further than our design at the moment. It's just, the trellis pulls out, and you can see the prospect to the trees through the porch. Yeah, keep going. Thank you. Was that Suzanne? And here's what I thought was going to come next, where you see the ramp and the stair and the covered kind of vestibule that addresses the street, and the threshold of the arbor and that house across the street. Right. Okay. So in terms of the slope of the site, it makes it very difficult to do certain things like park, but it gives back. And what it gives back is an extra story on the ground, at ground level at the rear, which just opens directly out onto the rear and the yards. And so we've captured it for our community spaces. And we have two. We have a community room. And we have a kind of daycare, nursery, after school room, right? That the, co-op will need to structure in terms of how it actually runs it or whatever. But we're providing not one, but those two spaces for the community. So that's really the point of these. Plus it's showing in the red dot where the boarding house sits. Yeah.
Capture some of that space for storage for the units.
Oh, yes. Then, so those are these, yes, I'm sorry. That's a very good point. It also has a bike room. Right, the mail room, the mail stuff is on the great porch because you want to get your mail and packages and come in and see your neighbors. But the bike room, the mechanical rooms, and storage units for overflow storage for all the residents is in here. Thank you. Okay, good. We're gonna skip the parking right now. And okay, so could we get the site plan for 1 sec? I guess it's gonna be small.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can load up.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you for blowing up the site plan. There's the basement plan with the 2 community rooms and the big, thank you. And they have ADA access down. At the end of the porch, there's a lift that takes you down so that all the residents will have access to it. Plus, it's a great way to bring down furniture and things like that. And then, okay, great. So this is the ground floor plan. And the thing I want to show you briefly here is the other benefits of that porch, right? Because again, in a project like this, everything has to do more than one thing. And it really organizes the project in that by having that porch, we're having direct access to either the units, which we'll see on the floor plan, I think that comes next, but you can see it here, where you have 2 duplexes in the center, then 2 studios, then a 2-bedroom on the front and a 1-bedroom on the back. Right. Okay, and then, but we should have a bigger plan, but thanks.
Duplexes.
Okay, yeah.
Studios.
Studio, right. I should show
Studios, 1 bedroom. 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms, right. Anyway, so there are 2 stairwells that take you to the upper floors, and then you have those bedrooms that face onto the porch. And what that means is this is called a point loaded building. There is no corridor in the middle of the building. There's no corridor in the middle of the building. That means every unit, well, there's only one unit that does it, has north and south, front and back prospects. They have windows at the front and the back. They have cross ventilation. They have light, right, and air coming from into rooms on both sides. That is, and even that in a certain sense, even though we're, planning is emphasizing the kind of the form-based code as controlling outside and how it's an urban addition. That form-based code, those kinds of things like porches and the size of the windows actually impact the interior as well, because they help make the interior also feel like it's a house, right? Because it's a house that has front and back windows. Apartments do not, right? So this is often do not. So it has this kind of wonderful resonance on the interior planning of units. And of course, you get those big windows as well. So that's a really added benefit. Now, the other thing, the way we've organized it is, it's on the north,
right? Which means that there's no circulation that interrupts the south. So that all the larger living areas can look south, get the benefit of the light. And they also looking out on the garden, right? So they're not looking at the driveway, they're looking at the garden.
Can you talk a little bit about the garden and the community space?
Yes.
Side as well as the access? to the
Yes,
back
of
the-
course. Sure, will do, no problem. So the garden includes play equipment. Well, that's the play equipment. There's a playground. And there are plots that are for the residents to farm, to grow. I mean, depending on, you don't have to, but there'll be enough gardening plots for every unit in the building to have access to their own garden. And my understanding is there might also be some stewardship provided by
Kingston Land Trust.
Kingston Land Trust, or it's Kingston Land Trust in this, but there'll be support for those activities. And and it's easily accessed again. Well, there are lots of ways. You can either take the path from the street, you can go along the porch and go down via stair or lift. So there are many ways to get there. And of course, in the basement, there's tons of room for a gardening shed, storage too. So like all the utensils, anything you need could be stored in close proximity to those gardens. We can have it to work actually on that side of the community, the straight and from the storage. So that will all work. And then the parking right now, the way it works is I skipped it for now. Well, I'm sure we'll get back there. I'm sorry, Jim, that was really helpful. You want to keep standing? Okay. But this is the driveway, right? That comes around and, so you can see here that if we get and this is a hill, right? So we can get like 4 parking spaces here. Right. And one of them is ADA. And that's kind of it. And it would mean that you wouldn't have a garden. You wouldn't have a playground. And to be honest, it's also kind of a requirement for us to get our AHUB. They require these kinds of amenities. I mean, we want to provide these kinds of amenities, but they're also required to get your HCI.
That's the state funding source that we'll be applying for.
Right.
Cover the costs.
Right. And the other great thing, I mean, AHUB, the state funding it asks a lot, but it's not stuff you don't want to give. I mean, it makes you put a lot of costs, for example.
The other thing that access does is conversations we've had with the fire department have indicated, 1, the type of sprinkler system we need, and 2 is access to the rear of the building. So the road along the side coming around the back and the parking lot gives you great fire access for the rear of the building.
Thank you for saying all the really important things. So it's wide enough that the fire chief is happy, and the sprinkler system will make the fire chief happy, and the bike room down there is going to be separated to make the fire chief happy. Yeah. So.
For e-bikes.
Pardon?
For e-bikes.
And regular bikes.
It's for regular bikes for sure, and for e-bikes. That's correct. It's both.
And an isolated fireproof section.
Right. You're right. Yeah. So I don't know anything else that is.
Let's run through the rest of them, I guess.
Yeah. Let's just.
Next slide.
Right. So these are where I was going to talk about the units, but I don't know how much we want to talk about the units. But you do see that the kind of bump of the twin becomes this great living room. And again, it kind of works. The outside form-based code has really beautiful implications for making nice rooms on the inside. And you see their you can see anything that has a circle is all about ADA. And the studio units have their kitchens so that the Rupco's saying that it could be elder seniors who are by themselves and they will love having a little kitchen where they can look out and wave to people going up and down the porch, that kind of thing. It's a nice social event. Okay.
The thing I would say is that one of the other things here is the mix of units. With respect to studios, single bedrooms, two bedrooms,
Right.
three bedroom
Yeah.
units.
Right.
That was deliberate.
Yes.
Some of the initial proposals were for a single type of bedroom units or a single
Yeah.
number of units. And it also contributes to one of the waivers we're asking for, and that is the number of units. And as you consider that, I think it's important to recognize
Right.
that is the case.
That's a really good point, and yes, and I can take you through every different unit type in this building, but there are a whole bunch of them for families, for singles, but I think to your point about the waiver, I think one thing in terms of planning conformance, you can see, so this is a narrow, very long site, and that the presence of the building has to do with its presence on the street, not down the hill. And all that the extra unit really does is add a bay at the back.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, this isn't really impacting its presence within the neighborhood and how it impacts the context. So I think it's a kind of what you call no harm, no foul. I was like, it would be great if people could consider it that way because, because I don't think honestly it's going to have an impact on the urban context if we take out that one bay. But
I don't know exactly, but I think within the 15 units, 10 of them are individualized, distinct units. There's no cookie unit. They all have an independent sense of identity, which is really something we're really very dedicated to. And I think it's so unusual in housing.
And we put this slide in just to demonstrate, we've had some initial conversations with Sue and Kyla about the preliminary designs and got some reactions and comments from them. So these were the previous deviations or waivers that were requested, and then the design team went back and thought about how they could kind of whittle that down and only ask for the ones that they really need. And so now we're just down to, I think, two waivers will be needed. Next slide.
Yeah. Right.
The other floors.
The other floors, you see their duplexes. So those are like maisonettes. Those are like little houses within the big house, right? Which is a great thing to have for family. Go ahead.
Not sure where we put the parking. We want to go back to.
Yeah, we might have to go back.
Agreement with the school. Do you have an idea of how many spaces that could potentially add?
Yes. So our discussions with the school, which have been pretty positive, right? Would you say? Or
Superintendent.
Okay, no mind. Okay, but the idea is that we would have 10 additional units. We would have, and remember, this is ownership. First of all, you don't want 15 families' cars on the street if you can help it. But although, as Dennis said, with Law Street, but these are ownership units. And if one person buys their unit with a parking space, it would be really nice if they could all buy. So
you have 14 altogether.
We have 15.
We have 15 now.
Yeah.
Okay, get it.
are you kidding, Jim? We don't have 15.
The school parking lot right now takes up all this space, but it doesn't use it. It has
Right.
this huge drive in it.
Kyla, can you go to the previous one to show the existing?
Existing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
So we're just making,
So-
in fact,
We squeeze it.
and we added the school district actually is plus 2 units.
more parking spaces.
Yeah, so they get 2 more. And if we do EV, which we might have to for AHOP, there's no reason why we couldn't share school parking.
It's actually safer. It's structured.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I've also heard anecdotally that, kids, I think it's technically it's a one way, but they go both ways, but kids who live on this side of George Washington travel through the park too, so this would hopefully design it a little bit better.
Yeah, we could even design it so they have a path.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
that's an opportunity. I mean, it's such a beautiful relationship to have a building like this backing onto an elementary school. Are you kidding? Such an opportunity. I mean, maybe we could get a path this way, maybe we could get a path that way. I mean, I kind of see, how people feel about people walking through the backyard, right? But maybe I didn't say that, but still, there should be, we should try to figure out how to design amenities into this situation.
I think the important thing to recognize with respect to the discussions that we will have in our school is that from a number of spaces standpoint, the school doesn't suffer a loss of space, parking spaces. And in some instances, a well-organized parking lot is actually better than something where everybody is trying to figure out where the connection lines are.
Right. Right, yeah, all right. Thank you, Dennis, for, again. Right. Same. Okay, so I'm not sure there's more.
Yeah, you have that one last slide.
Okay, great.
Wall.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right, there we go. It's a little bit of a collage. Little bit of a mess of a collage, but yeah, we tried. Where you see it on the street. And we did talk about the technology of sustainability that much, or the fact that it's modular. We're happy to talk about that.
I think it's important that we talk about ability issues.
Okay, so part of doing this rather than the muse, putting everything together, that's a big sustainability, right? It's like the adjacent modules warm each other up, right? And the only thing exposed to environmental impact is the larger perimeter. It also, we're sprinkling the building. We're sprinkling one building, right? And that is a big deal. So there are lots of, if you want to reach the level of Passive House, there are incredible efficiencies to treating this building the way we treated it. In terms of the standards we're hitting, we're going to hit Passive House. We've been talking about whether we're going to apply for Energy Star Passive House as a kind of benchmark of to show what we've accomplished. I think we're going to do Energy Star, but we will be Passive House. And we're going to do that simply, right? Through insulation, through sealing of so not for drafts, of very, very good windows, right? We have it organized to also take advantage of just passive good sense, not just passive technology, in that, the windows face south rather than north. It's protected, the portrait entry is protected on the north. We have cross ventilation, so people don't have to run their machines all the time. We should only be running them when it's really hot and when it's really cold. When it's nice out, there's no need to run them. And to that point, we're going to use a heat pump system with ERV, energy recovery ventilation, where that allows every household, every unit to have its individual controls. So you don't have this global system where it's too hot on one side, it's too cold on the other. Homeowners can dial it in, they can control how much energy they use and when they use it. And to that point, it shouldn't be much in case, because you probably know that when something is that tight and that well insulated, in the winter, you should be able to heat your house with a hairdryer. Someone dries their hair and they should say, "You've made it too hot here," fundamentally, right? So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Jim.
The modular and the double.
Okay, great. Oh, these guys are really interesting. So it's modular. So what modular means is You got one, they're framed totally. They come like little boxes and they've got framed walls all the way around them. They're insulated. So when you put them next to each other, the sound acoustical performance is amazing.
So wood apartment houses are notoriously noisy.
Right.
You hear from all through the walls, through the floors. But in this kind of construction,
Right.
absolutely stop. The thing is that we've been concerned in wood stick, water and wood stick apartment houses.
Right.
That there's not enough attention paid to making sure that the smoke and fire containment is properly done. One of the nice things about modular construction is we're able to see it certified, make sure it's complete before we put these things together.
Great. So the point what Jim's talking about, that's great, is that because it's made in a, there's a huge amount of quality control. And they have to do certain tests when they're installed, but a lot of the examination of whether it's going to be passive and whether it's going to be fireproof correctly can happen in the factory.
So it's broken down on a by unit basis,
Right.
it's easier to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that was about the way we seal up temporary houses
Right.
has become a real challenge.
Yes.
And there are a variety of things that have happened over the last several years. One is this, so you probably all know these split systems, adhesion systems. They have an Achilles heel, which is that they tend to contain moisture and to contact. So we have a way to deal with it, so we don't have this kind of problem. We don't have these concepts.
I would encourage you with the modulars to initiate discussion with Building Safety Division to just make sure that where you're going is going to conform to their code requirements, energy stretch code, building safety code, international building code, that kind of thing. So I would encourage those conversations to begin if they haven't already. Another thing you said that you're using the heat pumps. So are you gonna have, where are the exterior condensers? How are you gonna?
There are.
So there won't be any. Okay.
They're contained within the.
Okay.
It's a next gen.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but that's a excellent question.
Okay.
All right, so it's a really good question.
Big issue.
That's exactly the issue.
It's on the side of the building.
It's important.
No, that's a perfect
It's
question.
important to recognize that modular
Okay.
buildings do not fall outside the code.
Yes.
They are, if anything, more rigorously controlled.
Okay.
In part because they have to go down the road and stay together, but they're structurally extremely robust.
Yeah, and it's our understanding that those plans have to go to HCR for approval, right?
That's correct. And I have worked with HCR on a modular project in Sag Harbor. So I go there fine.
The state has an independent modular assessment program that goes through every modular building. So there are 3 checks.
Right.
The last thing I would say about modular construction is just thinking about the constraints on the site and the annoyance to the neighbors during
Yes.
construction. So the modular construction will speed the timeframe it takes to actually build it.
That's
In a
correct.
building like this, probably happening.
Yeah, that's really the biggest savings and it saves money as well as time.
So we just talked at you for a long time and loved, now it's, I mean, we need to tell you all the project, but we were very curious to hear your feedback and comments.
I'd like to start. The mere mention of the words 21 Elizabeth Street over the decades has made people's hair stand up on the back of their neck. I know you know this. I'm not sure how much of the team is aware of the history of this facility. But it has taxed emergency services. It has taxed social services, building department, countless politicians, and at least not, the neighborhood, the neighbors around. It has just been, it was just terrible for that neighborhood. And, you know, it's good. I'm happy that the demolition is gonna happen. We got a new build, a fresh build here. And if I can use the applicants that came through for 256 Washington Avenue, which is Hart Street, you have to, and I'm sure you know this, you have to engage with the neighborhood, what the neighbors are feeling, because you've got a lot of old-time neighbors through there. So the folks who did the renovation, who are doing the project at Chisholm's Hart Street, I said to them, this is an opportunity. Okay, we have a fresh start, and they did a wonderful job to listen to the neighbors, to listen to us, and you know, to convince folks that yes, this is not going to be like the way it was previously. So I think that a new build, new construction is going to do a lot to speak to that. I love the fact that it's encouraging families to come here. It eliminates the revolving door of the clientele that used to be there. I think, you know, previously the health and the welfare of the residents there were just, their health and wealth was hanging in the balance, it seemed, on a daily basis. So this is, I mean, you know, over the process, you're going to be appearing here. I'm sure we're going to tweak what the original concept is, and I'm happy to engage your team with that. So, you know, we do need quality housing, and a fresh start here is really, I think, a great idea, and I'm welcoming the conversation to have with the team and the county. So I thank you.
I'll just note too that we, right after this meeting, discussing with you, going to start community engagement with the neighborhood and planning a listening session for September.
So the school district, you mentioned that you are going to be meeting or presenting are you presenting to the board in August? Is that
Hopefully.
what you're hoping to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, you know, they just had their reorg meeting last month, and so they're
Right.
orienting themselves, so whenever they're ready for us,
Right.
hopefully, August 1st.
I mean, I think this will help. I with that area in the back, it's kind of a no man's land back there as well. And I mean, it is used by many people as a cut through. So I think by narrowing, you know, the drive, that will maybe reduce that, or at least slow some of that traffic down a little bit, if they do use that. I would like to see, obviously, cross connection open up there. And I was thinking, I mean, the district right now, the school has 2 very new playgrounds already on their site. So I was thinking, you know, rather than putting a 3rd one on this site, if there's another option for a recreational kind of installation. I mean, there's 2 playgrounds right, you know, a stone throw away, and a lot of neighborhood kids use
They
that.
are well attended.
They are very well used. You know, obviously you can't use them during school hours, but I think, you know, rather than recreate another opportunity, it opens the door for maybe doing something different there in terms of recreational space. To think that's something, but again, I don't know how you're funding. Funding dictates some certain things happening. And you're saying it's a co-op, so like the community space, how is it managed? How is like the common area managed? Is there a board then that is created by the ownership? Is that the regular homeowners association?
Yeah, it would be a board of the co-op.
Okay,
And they would have their sort of like democratic process open to figuring out communally how that.
so would that go through the state attorney general, like any other? Okay, so you have that process. Okay, all right. I was just curious about that.
Presumably, all other decisions locally would be
Yeah.
sort of worked through that democratic process. And part of the involvement in that certification also comes with something called third-party monitoring, where there are resources for the board, in addition to resources for first-time homeowners to get that sort of education, also a kind of education process. And through the life of the entirety of this co-op, there would be external resources for board management and building management, et cetera.
So like Brumco did on Clinton Avenue and Franklin Street. There's a home
Yeah.
ownership there that they had to meet a certain income requirement. And one of the questions that we had for them back then was once you're in, right? I mean, you can hit the lottery, right? I mean, you're not gonna be, that's it, you're in. Okay.
And just the one piece here too, and this is important for the county, is that we're seeing maybe you bought your home and it's affordable now, but you are a renter, or maybe you're a renter in Kingston now and you've been priced out of home ownership. And so, maybe you get a land bank home, but then the next homeowner you can flip that and sell it for as much money as possible.
Okay.
So with this model, they call it a shared equity model that basically says, you are owning your home, you have a mortgage, you're paying off a mortgage, you're building equity. But when you go to sell it to the next person, they are also going to be generally at the same income level as you. So you're not pricing the Kingston community out of those units when they turn over. So it's essentially perpetual for affordable home ownership, but at the same time, you're allowing residents to build equity to maybe then go buy, a single family home down the street.
So can I ask, assuming we're going to make a formal application next month, what would the board expect to see at that particular time? How many details do we have to look at for that consideration? Is there something that you would say they would be particularly concerned about where we're at with respect to the school district? Because that may take some time to work that out.
Well, I mean, I think obviously you're definitely at a point where you can start the review process, but I think you're gonna want to get into a little bit more details in terms of submitting detail.
So landscaping, lighting.
Yes, yeah, lighting plans, materials, obviously, are spec'd out in the architectural standards of the code. And I know we've talked about it, but you might want to, in what we call, just some material boards. I think your utilities are going to have to be identified, your connections for all your utilities. More detailed landscape plans would be required. One thing I didn't see on like these drawings, and we'll start to really create those questions, are like, your refuse and your recycling storage. Is that going to be internal, or are you going to have an exterior dumpster? And I would presume, with 15, you're going to have private hauler. So, access to that location is going to be something that you're going to want to make sure is suitable for any private hauler to get in and then get out without an issue. I'd like to see at least a little bit more indication from the school district about, obviously that's kind of a real critical issue here. So I'd like to find out where that goes in August. I mean, I'm glad you're moving that, advancing that further. And we'll start to circulate, we'll circulate to all of our other city departments. So engineering will be looking at it, public works, I think those are probably the critical ones. Building will be looking at it as well.
Can I ask it a little bit more specific in terms of the waiver request? From our perspective, obviously, if the waiver request, that's a complete rethink in terms of where we are, if there's a negative reaction to the waiver request. And I guess the level of detail that we get into versus when the planning board is comfortable making a waiver request, I think is really important to us.
Okay, well, I mean, what has happened in other more recent projects, and I'll speak to the bigger ones. We just did Flatbush, which had a considerable number, 5 waivers, and we did 615 Broadway, which also had a few waivers. And there was discussion at board level about each of the waivers during the course of the discussion. And I think in general, the board was able to give a consensus of where, you know, what they felt, if they were comfortable, as the plans progressed, so that by the time they got to the decision point, they had really already discussed the majority of the waivers and they were already kind of determined.
So it's consensus based and it goes along in terms, okay,
Right.
that's great. Thank you for that. It's really helpful.
Yeah.
And the form-based code dictates design standards and styles too, right? So, I mean,
Right,
can
which
we,
is what we,
yeah, so we, I mean, is there, I know other projects before that code was adopted, we've asked for an alternate plan. Is that something that's, can be,
if the board,
I mean, do you have a plan B design or is it?
We had Plan B, people seem to like this one better,
Okay.
I mean, but.
yeah, the original design, I will say, I didn't particularly care for.
Okay.
It really looked like when you were looking at the building from the street, you were looking at the side of the building.
Okay.
And it wasn't street.
I mean, so if these discussions have already taken place.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
I think that this is really smart.
I
I
like
think
it.
it also like kind of sets an example of what is possible, especially with, you know, the uniqueness of land and what it's gonna be used for. But I love how the entrances is like straight from the side. The porch is really nice and
Well, the code requires, that was another one of the concerns that we had with the original design, is the code does require a street facing access, pedestrian access from the street. So this does now provide for that. It removed that concern. With the waivers, I will say, Dennis, one of the things that we do ask the applicants to, do is to provide us, their justification.
Yeah, I get it.
Your reasoning for, your argument basically for saying that why this is, why it's justified and why it is, compatible with the neighborhood, why it's consistent with the objectives and the goals of the form-based code and.
Committed with our.
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you.
So when you go on the portal, the planning portal, you'll choose site plan and then you'll also, there's an option for waivers too. So you'll just click on the different, ones that you're going to complete. And once you do that, and then if you need us to help you while you're filling it out, you can call us at staff level and we can get online at the same time you're online and we can work through it with you.
Great. I just, I want to thank the board for its time and I also want to say thank you to the staff. The staff has put a lot of effort in terms of making, when you said there was other things that we've gone through the alternative discussion, so.
That was the gateway meeting.
We had one of those, and it's really appreciated that the staff is willing to sit down and do that. And give us helpful suggestions in terms of not just saying, we can't tell you how to design your project. They actually said, these are the things that we'll be looking for. Really helpful. Yeah.
Great process so far. Thank you.
Is there any last words from the team?
Just excited to start this process with you all and. Be responsible as possible.
And it's a wonderful kind of house. Scale.
What is your time frame? What do you have an anticipated time frame?
We will move as quickly as the process now.
Okay.
So, but we yeah, we've been saying, early 2027.
Okay.
For lease.
The residents of Elizabeth Street.
Oh, we
Find out.
would be big fans of this.
Okay.
I'm at the other end, I'm at 72. Yeah, so I'm at the very end of the other side.
Will you join us for our community listening?
You can talk to communities, we do it all the time. I mean, it's a joy, and you get, yes, some people give you a hard time, but.
I think most of the neighborhood's gonna be very happy
Yeah.
to see this building knocked
Yeah,
down.
and it helps, like all inputs,
Yeah, that's
there's never a bad criticism, it all helps.
It's nice to be able to bring something good.
Yeah.
Who will be, Dennis, who's gonna be, are you doing the demolition or is the county doing the demolition?
We would anticipate that in this instance, whether different from Golden Hill, that developing team
Right,
would do the demolition. And
Okay.
that the county would not be involved in demolition.
okay.
Well, thank you, folks.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing you again.
Really
appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? For the good?
Yeah, just. Very great.
So, enjoy.
Adjourned. Second by C. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Get your name over the
Right.
Oh, there's so many names. We
Yeah.
decided that.
Okay, I thought one was four.